Welcome to this edition of Changer Chats. I'm Jimmy Cook, co-founder of Be the Change Volunteers, and today I'm hosting a panel discussion on a really important topic that we call re-entry. Re-entry, which is sometimes referred to as reverse culture shock, happens to pretty much everyone who participates in an immersive experience serving in the developing world in at least some way to some degree. The perspective shifts that these experiences entail are often jarring, overwhelming, and profound. They definitely can and should change your worldview, mindset, and heart forever, which are great things. But the repercussions on you when you re-enter into your so-called normal life can be really challenging to deal with. Feelings of guilt, embarrassment, helplessness, need for radical life changes, hopelessness, despair, and depression are extremely common and need to be acknowledged, processed, and used to take the mission beyond the immersive experience and turn it into a sustainable impact for those you served and for you. BTCV provides a re-entry packet each time our volunteers return to their homes, as well as links to related articles and websites. But we wanted to provide another, more personal resource as well. And I'm really grateful to our panel of amazing changers who have all served in developing world communities all over the world and have all experienced significant re-entry challenges that they are willing to share with us today. So Hannah, Maddie, Seth, Allie, Kylie, Uncle Al, thank you so much for helping us create this important resource. Let's start with the physical aspects of re-entry, specifically dealing with the jet lag, exhaustion, soreness, GI adjustments that are all associated with having your clocks turned upside down, the extensive travel, the manual labor, medications, and the diet changes that are always part of these trips. So, just jump in. What are some of your tips and tricks for dealing with this part of it?
I'll go first since I'm the senior of all of the changers here tonight. So I think that a couple of things that I always try to do is be vigilant when you're on the mission, on the project, about all the food and drink that you do, even like ice, make sure the water's safe. Keep up with your personal meds and also your malaria meds if you're in a malaria area. The other thing is always stay hydrated. Jimmy can attest to that for me. I got a little bit of an issue in Uganda one time, so keeping hydrated all the time will help you feel better while you're on the trip and also when you get back. So, and then on the flight back, just kind of know when you're going to be coming in so you can time your sleep schedule accordingly, because you don't want to get back in your home, in your bed, and be wide awake, because most of us have to go to work pretty much the next day. So that's my tips.
I'll go ahead and follow up. I was going to say the biggest thing for me, especially this year coming back, was just like remembering that these things would happen. Like, I feel like it would be like a 3 or 4 days after the trip, and I'd be like, wow, I'm really, really exhausted or sore, or like, yeah, your GI tract is getting back to normal food. And like, I would literally forget, like, oh my gosh, these can all happen, like even up to a week or longer after. So your body's truly adjusting. And so just giving yourself that grace of like readjusting and remembering to continue to take care of your body even after your first couple of sleeps. Like, it's not just going to happen right away that everything's going to be back on track.
For me, after my first build, I lost like a lot of weight, and it took me like a long time to put the weight back on. And so I learned from that I need to bring snacks with me when I go on builds. I'm just not as used to some of the foods that we're eating when we're on a build. And that was something that like I had to learn from my first build. And then since then I make sure to pack like high protein snacks so that I don't get into that situation again.
Yeah, I think like to kind of build on that, my first build, we stayed for an extension, and the longer you're out of the country, like the more your body's going to have to readjust coming back. And so I know at least 2 different builds where I've come back and just like gone straight to bar food or something super greasy. And it's like, you got to take it in small amounts because you're shocking your body when you come back just as much as when you go to these different countries.
Has anybody used any of the apps, like the time adjustment apps? I know a couple of people on the last build did. Has anybody have any experience with that or heard? The people that I know that have done it have felt like it does work, but I don't know if you guys have had any experience with it.
I haven't had any experience with the apps, but specifically when traveling internationally, I feel like when I'm coming home, especially, I try to, from the start of the journey, slowly look at the time at home and kind of plan accordingly. Like, I might be really, really tired right when we get on our first flight, but if I know that it's the middle of the day at home, like maybe trying to wait a few hours, like as long as I possibly can, to fall asleep as close to my normal time at home as possible. And so just like really monitoring your home time on your day travel back, I think is really helpful.
Yeah, I do similar, and I even try to eat at the right times. That kind of gets my body, I think, either my body or my mind or both, starting to get back on the normal schedule, I think.
I was going to say, I'm going to take it a different direction real quick, but it's just because I've experienced this my last two builds. My feet swell really badly on planes, so I think it's not something that everybody experiences, but I think compression socks are something to definitely consider, even though I'm 32 and it makes me feel like I'm 78. I don't know. I don't know how old you are, Uncle Al. I'm so sorry. I don't mean that as
You're not.
a
78
negative.
is still in the future.
Just saying. But yeah, I just think it's something to consider bringing with you, because I could have used it for sure, in Africa, and then this last time I actually came prepared, and it was super helpful. So just those types of things to keep in mind that you may not think would happen to you can still happen to you. So
yeah, no, that's a good one. We've actually put that on the packing list now. Sorry, Kai, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that had never happened to me until on the way home from Peru. So I think I think you need to think of the end of the trip as like the minute you get to the airport and start treating it appropriately then, because if you wait till you're home, sometimes you're too late.
Yes. So. And then you have to sleep with your feet literally at 90 degrees. So that's fun.
So it's not always possible, but if you could, would you not go back to work for 1 to 2 to 3 days? I mean, is it something that everybody would say, if at all possible, try to schedule some downtime?
I think you're the only one who goes to work the next day.
I will say, me and Allie both just went back to work the day after we came home from Malawi. Wow. But I would say that you should for sure try to give yourself a day for the emotional toll, the physical exhaustion, the mental exhaustion, everything, just doing your laundry. There's just so much that you need to do, and give yourself some grace and some time when you get back. It would be great to have a day or two built in.
And kind of along with this, and I think this will transition us into the next part, but what about people when you get back? Do you, and then probably individualized, but do you want to be around all your family, your significant other, or do you need a break from that? Do you need to ease back into that? How's everybody feel about that?
I'll start that one off. I definitely need alone time for sure. I feel like first off, I have some other, normal mental health battles. So I definitely need space when I'm processing things in general, but especially from this, I prefer alone time. I think for me, I would love to have 2 days off of work. I don't know why I'm focusing on that, but 2 days sounds better than one. But yeah, I prefer to kind of, process all of that alone. And I don't know. I think everyone's different, and for sure that can look different for everyone. But for me, yeah, alone time is better to just kind of think everything through, not feel pressured to talk about it, because you do get so many questions, and it's because people are interested in what you've done, right? And they're excited for you. But it does kind of feel like a lot sometimes when everyone's asking, how was your trip? How was your trip? How was your trip? And you have to keep repeating the same things. And sometimes that can feel, like a lot of pressure. So that's my experience. So
I was going to say too, I think what's really hard about that is that you feel super connected. Well, in my experience, I felt super connected to the team and super disconnected from the people in my life. And so you go from a week of people that you like have literally walked this emotional journey. And then you come back to the people that you love at home and you just feel kind of isolated from them. And I think what's helped me is to be like, I love you, but I just like need time, and like really like kind of setting that boundary. Like it has nothing to do with you, anybody, whether it be a partner, a parent, a friend, just like, it's really hard for me to talk about because I went on like an emotional journey and I want to share the stories of the people that I met and, but just like it might take me a little bit, and making that pretty clear has been helpful. And all people that love you are going to be supportive of that and are going to be ready to listen the day you're ready to talk. And so I think that's what's helped me a lot.
I think that's so important and such a great way to do it and say it, because I definitely feel the exact same way. And it's so hard because you do want to share it, like you said, and you don't want, don't want to alienate them or be like, oh, you weren't there, so I can never talk to you about it. But yeah, I'm just like, just give me a little minute and I promise we'll be all in. But we gonna say something, Seth?
Yeah, I think kind of with what Allie was saying, I'm very just particular about who I kind of spend my time with when I first get back. I'm really I try to hang out with those friends that I just know are good listeners. The ones that are genuinely interested versus, it's not really going to be the time that I want to spend with somebody. And so, I don't know, just really particular and coordinated in how you choose those timings when you get back. Family's great too, and that's kind of the same answer there, is family can be a lot. And so I used to fly back to St. Louis because I like seeing my family, traveling out and coming back. This build, I just came straight home because I wanted to be on my own for a while. And I think that worked better for me, but it's all about you, like knowing yourself, knowing how you experience each build, and each build's going to be different.
I think my routine when I get home is start laundry because everything's fitted out.
Yeah.
And then Debbie always teased me, what's the first thing you want when you get home? A nice glass of ice cold milk. And then the rest of the evening is snuggle time with my dog. So
the ultimate listener, right?
He's a great listener. So
yep, that's good. Those are all really good, for sure. Thanks for sharing all that. And I do think it's a good transition. So I think the tougher, deeper, I think longer duration part, at least for me, kind of the mental, emotional, psychological components of re-entry. So I'm going to ask you each, we'll just go through, and I'm going to ask you each to describe your re-entry feelings and emotions first, if you will, and then kind of go into how and when, because I think that's another thing that's different and can sneak up on you and can be potentially really disruptive. But kind of, when and how they hit you, because it can be different things. I'll just get us going a little bit and briefly share my first reentry feelings and emotions, which involved a combination of honestly guilt, embarrassment, and definitely like helplessness. And in me, it provoked an immediate reaction, which was to make radical life changes. I literally turned to Christy the second we stepped foot back in the U.S., and I told her very seriously that we needed to sell everything, quit our jobs, and become missionaries. Fortunately, and most of you know Christy, she's not nearly as impulsive or reactionary as I am. And as we will talk about later, we made a much better plan for sustainable impact. So, Maddie, I'm going to start with you. Tell us about your emotions, how, when, and then we'll do that first, and then we'll kind of go and talk about how you worked through it.
I feel like my emotions when I come home from a build I have a lot of frustration towards sometimes my good friends and sometimes family members, which is totally not fair, but it's for like not understanding the experience I just went through, and not wanting to relive all these stories with me over and over and over again, you know, which is why I have a wonderful BTCV family who I talk to all the time and can reach out to all the time, especially after a build. And I do find myself, like, I kind of do isolate myself a little bit. Like, I don't talk about the build as much as I should or would like to, because I just feel like people don't understand the experience that I went through. So I have a lot of frustration. I also just have like a lot of like longing for the country I was just in and longing for that team and that experience. And it's like, it almost feels like a bit of a loss. Like I'm like going through this like sadness period. My first build in Uganda, I have a somewhat similar story to Jimmy, but my first build in Uganda, I came home, I applied for a job in Uganda as a special ed teacher, interviewed, got the job, was not going to go to graduate school to move to Uganda. And then my parents were like, maybe you should go to graduate school. Like, you can still go on BTCV builds, which was definitely a better direction for me to go in. But I mean, I was fully committed to wanting to serve Uganda and serve kids with disabilities there. So yeah.
Has it always hit you right away, or have you had delayed?
Oh, so you know, it kind of depends on the year. It's never the same for me. It is good for me, as much as I don't like coming home and going right back into work. It is good for me to get into a routine, because if I just sit for a couple days, that's the only thing I'm thinking about. And then I'm sad, and it's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for my relationships and friendships. So getting back into a routine is very good for me. But then that does mean that a month from that build, from when I return, a month or two later, I kind of go through that frustration period and find myself taking a few steps back. But I think routine is very helpful.
Thanks. Seth, let's go to you next.
Yeah. I mean, really, to build off of that, I think something for me. So first off, I guess it really hits me mentally on that first flight. Like wherever we're returning from, when we get on that first plane, I think that's when the feelings start to hit me. I think it's because that's when I'm finally sitting still and like really decompressing from whatever's, experienced on the build. And obviously that's a lot of emotions at once. Like, it can be kind of lonesome and sad. It can be exciting and inspiring. And all those things can be true at the same time. And so for me, the first thing I do when I get back from a build, definitely with Uncle Al, I throw the laundry in, but I go to the gym right after. I need like strenuous physical activity, because a lot of the time that's what we're doing on the build, right? And so that can look different for, whoever you are. Whether it's walks or going outside doing yard work, whatever, but keeping my body in that same kind of a state really helps me go through those same emotions, because I'm not really thinking about what happened on Tuesday or Thursday of the build until it's all said and done. And so I just really like to keep a schedule of, maybe I'm not doing a 6-hour manual work day like we are on, these sites, but something to keep my body going, to help my mind go through all the feelings.
Yeah, that's good. Hannah, how about you?
Sorry. Well, I'm the emotional one, so I'll just start by saying that. But I actually think that the emotions for reentry, as we describe it, start for me before we've left the build. And I don't know that necessarily will make sense to everybody, but I start mourning the loss of the build before we've even left, sometimes, just because I'm so happy there and I feel so just fulfilled. So honestly, the whole I'm very, very happy about it, but at the same time, I'm still like simultaneously mourning it before we've left. So for me, I think it's important to have, the change your family, like we've said, like just to have people who can understand it and, have experienced the same feelings to talk through it with, because as emotional as I am, I do try to keep things to myself at times. And I think it's important to not keep what we're feeling, and especially with these types of experiences to ourselves. So, we're all there for the same reason, right? We want to see change. So, we have each other to lean on, and that's the point of the Change Your Family, right? So, but I do think it happens for me before I've even left, which I hate, because I think this is how many days we have left. This is how much time I have to experience these things. And I'm kind of bad at being in the present sometimes. So that's something I kind of want to improve on with every build, is just being more present and being able to, just feel all of the happiness and all of the impact that we're doing. But it's going to be a work in progress for me. So it might be a little different, but that's how.
I think that's super important for people to understand too. And I'm going to encourage everybody to watch this Change Your Chat before they go on builds, especially if they're their first one, because I would tell you that part, it's happening earlier and earlier for me. Each new build, it's like, oh man, I'm going to miss this so much. Mm-hmm. So I start to feel it earlier and earlier, and just don't want to leave, for sure. Allie, how about you?
I don't want to leave before I get there.
Yeah. Same. Allie, how about you?
I think this question's kind of interesting right now too, because I feel like I'm still on the roller coaster. Mm-hmm. Us coming back, July 27th, I believe is the day we got home, or 28th. And so I still feel like I'm riding the wave. I'm talking about it very currently. And this past build, I got back Sunday. I went to work Monday, and I'm a teacher. And so that alone has its own challenges. And I'll touch on that in just a minute. But I think too, I'm oh my gosh, I'm fine. Wow, I'm talking about the emotional, not the physical side. I'm wow, I'm so fine. I'm really fine. Oh my gosh, this is great. And then it really hits me. It hit me really hard last Friday. And I had called Maddie, and it was out of nowhere. It was just I kind of went into more of a panic, I had been going really running, trying to kind of just pretend life was normal. And it's really emotional. Mm-hmm. And it's, it changes your perspective on life. And so I think I was trying to avoid that and avoid processing that. And I think it's inevitable. And so my word of advice would just be let the feelings come as they come, instead of I did. And I was trying to just be I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm back in my routine. I know how this works. And it's no, when you feel sad, feel that feeling instead of it just hitting you like a ton of bricks, And then with the emotional side, the only thing that gets me through is I'm really, really fortunate to be close with Maddie and Seth and Bailey, and the two builds have been with them. And so our group chat text the week following, especially, is just guys, I'm sad, or guys, remember this, and just memories. And it helps me feel really connected to the trip, still feel way less isolated. And all four of us at separate points, even I'm just once again talking about in the last 2 weeks, so really recent, texted whoa, it's my low. I miss you guys a lot. Mm-hmm. This all at different times. And I think that was even better for us, because we were able to be love you. We weren't all crashing out at the same time. It was hey, I'm here for you. I'm going to hold you up. Now it's your day and we're here for you. We love you. Here's this awesome picture of you, or of us, remember this memory. And so that is the number one most helpful thing for me. And last thing I'll just touch on, I think the hardest part of this experience is going back to an American classroom, specifically a classroom that is considered low income in the States, and coming to that, where I've spent the last year dealing with the problems that our children in the States deal with. And then your mind automatically goes into comparison mode when you come back, and you're trying to like just battle the like emotions and feelings of change over there, but yet still, how can I make a change here? But the challenges are so different. And so I feel like my brain just does a lot of processing through the different comparisons of education settings. And that also has an emotional toll in its own. So
Yeah, for sure. It just really hit me when you guys were all talking. Like it is grief. Like it's real grief, and you are mourning a loss. Besides just like the impact and the experience, the personal part is grief. And so I think when you look at it, it's helping me already. To be honest with you, you just got to admit that and realize it and kind of work through it in that way, like you would with any other profound form of grief, really. Uncle Al, what would you say?
I think you guys touched on a lot of the emotions and feelings that I felt, especially when I started with Be the Change. I've been doing it enough now that when I get back, I deal with it by planning my next trip.
That's a great way.
Yeah. I start texting Maddie, and I've already decided Rwanda next year. And
Oh yeah.
And I think that probably Seth and Bailey and everybody else can join us. There'll be plenty of room probably.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's the emotions are raw. I guess, like I said earlier, I throw myself back into work here because they are two separate entities for me. Be the Change. Yeah, I got a family there. But I've got a family at work too. So you have to kind of split and live in the moment and then make plans for down the road. So, yeah, I feel very blessed and thankful for the opportunity that I just, was on. I miss the people immensely. But there again, like I tell a lot of people, we're only a phone call away. So we can text. I send pictures to people. I sent pictures to Maddie while I was in Malawi. She sent pictures to me while they were in Malawi. So yeah, we got a big family. We reach out. We hold each other dear.
Yep, 100%. You had me, and I'm planning my next build, by the way. Kylie.
I feel like that's hard because I've only been on one trip so far. And so I went on a bunch of similar type of trips when I was in college, but now I'm in my mid-30s and a mom. And so those experiences are very different coming home to laundry and children who want to attach to me because they haven't seen me in a week and a half. And so I feel almost like I miss the simplicity of being on a build where like I got to focus on one thing and pour my heart into that one thing. And I wasn't getting pulled in 8,000 different directions when I got back home. So I have to be really intentional to carve out time to process things and think through things. Otherwise, I'm just really angry and cynical and I don't know why. And then my husband's like, hey, do you need a break? You need to talk about it? And that's when I'm like, oh yeah, I probably do need to talk about this. Thankfully, even though he's not been on a Be the Change build yet, he gets it because he works with a lot of refugees who come from a lot of the countries that Be the Change serves. So he's a really good sounding board where we can just talk through our frustrations with the first world problems that plague our days. And we just get to kind of reflect on the things that everybody feels like are a big deal. And then you go and see what's actually important. And you're like, why are we worried about this when we get back home? So I'm also really lucky because I work with Jimmy and Hannah. So, if we need to commiserate, we get to commiserate together and feel those things together. So
Yeah. That's awesome, y'all. Yeah, I think it's so helpful already for sure. And just like people can understand, like you will experience it. And these are real deep emotions. And again, just for me, like facing it head on, like it's going to be grief that you have to deal with, I think is important. So let's talk about how we try, do our best to, turn that a little bit around, move forward, move in positive ways. And because I know the other thing I know about all of you and really all the changers that we've had experience with is that we want to use it to help the people that we serve, right? So we got to get through it personally ourselves, because that's the only way we can help anyone else. But then that's really at the heart of the mission, and really at the heart of the sustainability part is how do we turn that into a better future for those that we've gotten to be with and to serve. For us, for Christy and me, as I told you about that first re-entry experience and my kind of crazy reaction and response to it, but honestly, even I would say through every one, each and every project, I think the process, at least for me, and I think I would say for Christy, is that helps us the most is, like you've talked about a little bit, but discussing it with each other, for sure, for us, praying about it. I would say the reentry materials are helpful and the resources are helpful. But I think what most people have talked about is just talking it through with the right people at the right time in the right environment. And then really asking them, like, how can we use our platforms to tell the stories of the people that we've been, right? Because, I mean, that's really the gift to us. The gift to us is that we live the stories. So now how can we tell those stories and put that into the lives of ourselves, our families, but more importantly, the other people that we can get involved. And I think for us, it's just every day we try to do the next small thing that can create hope and opportunity for others. So tell us now about specific resources, tools, who you talk to, I guess how you turn the difficult stuff, the discouraging stuff into positive, actionable ways forward. And we'll just go the same way. So Maddie, we'll start with you.
Well, one of the first things I do before I go on a build is remind my loved ones how it can be hard for me when I get back. And just that, like, I may need some grace and some extra support because I don't always know what that's going to look like, when the frustration hits or the sadness and how I will be responding. So I try to warn some people in my life, remind them, this is something I may need some help with. So I think that's really helpful. And also thinking about, what were the conversations that I just had on the build about, like, what are the next steps for this community? And that's really helpful for me when I come back. I'm like, okay, like, there are some action steps I can be taking right now that I may not be there, but I'm still supporting and working alongside this community, even if I'm a million miles away. That's really helpful for me. I'm genuinely always thinking about Be the Change. So it's very helpful. I feel like I'm still part of that community. I also think that this is not for everyone, but putting out social media posts can be very, like, therapeutic for me, like writing, like, a long caption about all these people that I've met and these friendships that I have that are so far away and the amazing community members. It feels really good to, like, get it out there. Whether or not anybody's going to read it, that's okay. But it just, I hope they do and can see, how wonderful that community is. And that brings me a lot of peace and happiness. I also think that I've read Hand Delivered Hope like 10 times now. It's so relatable after a build. It's just the most comforting thing ever, which makes perfect sense that it's relatable because it's truly, the experiences that you go through. But it's so important to me and makes me just feel like I'm not alone in those hard, difficult feelings. And it's not crazy of me to, miss that build so much.
Well, thank you. That's I really appreciate that for sure. I was going to ask you, you mentioned that. I mean, I think I've seen you do two things. Is one, like the action items afterwards. I was going to ask you, do you start to make a list now on the build so that you can, because you're so good about right when you get home, you're like, I'm going to follow up on this, that, and this.
I don't know if I make a list, maybe a mental list, or it just like doesn't leave my brain.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like a big promise that Be the Change makes is that like we are a partnership, and like as long as you're putting in your work, we're putting in ours. And I feel like I take that so seriously with everything, but especially with BTCV SPED. Like I owe it to these communities to stay on top of it and get things done as quickly as possible. And, you know, after a build, I feel that fire like restart inside me, you know, like as the year goes on, it like starts to dwindle a little bit. Like I'm so passionate, but then like right after a build is like really when it lights up. So
that's just, I've just again seen you do that so much, and that's really helped me. Like if I can do something, I'm a doer. If I can do something afterwards that's related to that, it just helps me so much. And I was going to ask you, like, it seems like you turn like creative thing, like the social media, telling the stories. Is that an outlet you intentionally try to integrate into the recovery reentry process?
Yeah, I find it very helpful even to, like, I find myself writing, you know, things that I would like to say to everyone, or like imagining if I was like this really famous social media person, like all the things I would tell the world. And I type it into my notes on my phone, and it feels like I can like take a breath, you know, after I've said all the things that I want everyone in the world to know about these amazing communities. So it's very helpful for me.
Yeah, that's cool. Seth, what about you?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me getting back is really prayer, that reflection time. Like you said, we live these stories, but the hardest part, I think, is like, you know, you get back and you start getting into your routine, and then that story closes up. But we want to keep living that story, right? That's the whole vision of Be the Change. And so, you know, keeping that platform in mind, and I think that's something I always pray for, is it's going to be small and incremental, right? You want to fix everything overnight, but it's going to be a small step. And so just praying for that next step, you know, whatever, if that's a person, if that's an opportunity, whatever it is. And I've made some really like significant life altering decisions after builds. I've changed jobs, moved cities. Like that's okay too. I think that's part of it. You know, we're so high on the build that you can sometimes get ahead of yourself. But there's also changes that, you know, on reflection that might benefit after a build. And so I think just being open to all those feelings and really working through and just trusting a bigger plan helps me. Like Maddie said, the reading definitely helps me. Hand Delivered Hope, Love Does. I mean, gosh, yeah, definitely just kind of classic books to help you feel, or written by people who understand what you're feeling at those times. And I guess on the same way, like I'm a big classics reader. So like Huck Finn, books like that, right? Where you're the emotions of a changing life, you know, kind of Maddie's therapy for social media. That's my therapy, is reading, or even poetry sometimes. Just authors feeling grief, especially, you know, for a place that they've now, you know, they have this connection to. So yeah, those are definitely my big ones. I think really just but pushing myself outside of my comfort zone too. On the build, we're sort of forced into that, right? You're in a whole new setting, it's sink or swim, and you swim, right? But then when you get back, it's easier to just kind of drift back and, you know, stop doing that. And so just continuing to push myself outside of my comfort zone. Because like you said, Jimmy, there's a whole platform out there. And so if we hide it, we're not growing.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that too, because I don't want anybody to think like, don't do anything, you know, major. because I mean, sometimes that is the spark you need. Sometimes that is the life change perspective you need to do something major. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because I definitely agree. And I think we've definitely done some major things like you have, and they have, changed our life for the better for sure. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up for sure. Thanks. Hannah Jo.
So I would say I feel like the way that I talk about the most is probably at work, just because that's where I spend most of my time. I don't know if you know that, but so I encounter a lot of healthcare patients, obviously, and it's just really easy for that to be kind of a talking point. It starts out as small talk and then can turn into something a lot bigger. I know I told you recently about getting a new phone, and I randomly was talking to the person who was selling me the phone, and it turned into like an actual intense, in-depth discussion about, the builds, and then somebody overheard it, and that created, just an effect. So I think that's kind of how I try to, I guess I don't want to say promote it, but I mean, share.
You can promote it all you want, girl. You go.
Share the excitement of it, for sure. And then outside of that, it also just makes me, we talk about the small steps. So the Ronald McDonald House is really important to me for personal reasons, outside of Be the Change, with my sister and my nephew. So I don't know, it makes those small things that aren't actually small feel a lot bigger and more important, but also just easier to do and like easier to think about. So yeah, that's all I got.
I think that's a great one too, and I hope people take that. One way you can, take the next right step, the next small step is, and it's a double win, right? Is to do local service. So you keep that heart of service, that perspective of service, that experience of service going, and you help the local community as well too. So that's a great suggestion, I think, for sure. Allie, what about you?
I know I had mentioned earlier, like I had called Maddie and kind of let all my feelings just kind of taken over, and I had texted her and told her that it all kind of hit me. And my biggest thing with the emotional side of it is like taking it slow. I mean, after that day, I literally had texted a few friends because I was so excited to see people. And I had texted a few friends like, hey, we need to postpone like our dinner or you coming over. Like I gave myself that space to say no to people and like take it slow the first weeks after coming back. And that's like a big thing for me. I think after I came back from a build, I'm like an Energizer bunny. Like I just like want to get back into my life, but I want to like, on top of it, I'm starting the school year and I have all this energy to just keep moving forward. And I struggle to put on the brakes. And so that's the first thing is like, again, setting the boundary of like, hey, I can't hang out for a few weeks, but when I'm ready, I'll let you know. Mm-hmm. The other thing that's really helpful for me and has been is staying in contact specifically with the teachers and being a teacher. Agnes is a teacher in Malawi that I got really close with, and I know that she moved schools, but she still is like super prevalent in the Macumba village, and so she still messages me, and I feel like super connected to just the Malawi community as a whole, and just the teachers there. And so that's really helpful. And Ernest, the contractor on the Malawi build, also WhatsApp me pictures of the school. And he was just like, it's coming along. We're so excited. And so getting those updates, just like, is so helpful. The last thing I was going to touch on too is any teachers listening, like Be the Change is not only so great for obviously the international experiences, but I think one part that I've benefited from so much is like Be the Change as a whole truly empowers teachers. It doesn't matter. Like that's literally part of the motto is that like teachers are the heroes. See, it all starts with teachers, right? And I think sometimes in the States, we don't always feel that way. And that's really, really ignited my passion again. And so I'm really grateful for that. And so I think coming back and being an educator, I feel lucky because I get to keep going with the change, because it's not just international, it's in our own communities, right? We want that to be the wavelength, the butterfly effect, where it's worldwide. Because when we're all educated, we all benefit. And so I do feel it's like one of the few times, unfortunately, that I'm like, wow, I'm really, really lucky to be at the front lines here in our own home. And I get to work with these kids and watch the next generation be the change, like seriously, and live that mission as a teacher and instill that in my classroom. It's truly sewn into the threads of my education philosophy, and my kids know about it and they can tell you all about it. And even like last week we had our meet the teacher introduction, and I'm lucky to have the same group that I had last year. And they're like, Miss Ziegler, did you do this again? Like they like know the trip, they know the stories, they like are asking the questions. And so I would say it might be harder if I was in a job where I went back to an office and just was like, what do we do? And, you know, Hannah Jo, you touched on that, of like finding your other outlets. And I'm lucky that my career is an outlet like that. And so, and then the last thing is just planning the next trip. I mean, I've only been on 2 builds, but even before we left this build, we were ready. Like we knew what we were what's the next trip, or at least the one in mind. And so it's like, I didn't feel like I was leaving with just like, this could be the last ever, even though I know it wouldn't be. But I'm like, no, we already kind of have the ball rolling. And so like that felt really good. I don't think I could leave a trip without having the ball rolling in some direction. And so that's super helpful.
The ball is rolling very fast towards Malawi, towards Rwanda, sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I've already told people. So.
No, thank you. That's amazing. And I haven't heard you relate that part, just like the teaching part can be an outlet, because it is so hard. I mean, particularly in your situation, I mean, you have a hard job. It helps me to think that that's an outlet and a good source for you, because I know it's so hard. What about your other outlets? When do you incorporate those back in, like improv and athletic things? And
yeah, so that's the unfortunate part, is that they just begin when I get back, all of them. And that's like I do improv theater, right? Which is like a class I go every week. And so like that's what I can't change. But the things that I can change, like hanging out with friends or having dinners and doing things like that, I try to take a pause on non-scheduled activities, but it also feels good to jump back into your own communities. And that's a big community for me. And so still having that community feel like you feel on the build, and being like, oh my gosh, I have this at home. And so maybe if you don't have that at home, finding that and letting that be your spark, is to be like, I need a community like this at home. I don't want this just in Africa with 10 people I just met. I want it, and so I think it's good to kind of jump back into your own circles and be like grateful that you have those too.
And that's so cool that you can bring that perspective here, right? And say like, let's build a community here, because that's what we all love in the developing world, right? Like it's still about community. It takes a village, and it is a village, and everybody's in it together, right? And so if we can just bring a little bit of that, use that story to hopefully influence our communities here, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing for sure. So thanks 100%. For sharing that. Uncle Al.
I like to share my story with the BTCV volunteers in my own network here in Liberty. Eric and Devaney. Let them know they're always excited about seeing pictures, hearing the stories. I get to tell Eric some of the stories that I can't tell anybody else. So he can kind of relate to a few of those. And then the other thing that I really do a lot of reflection on is I go back through my pictures that I've taken. I'll find myself doing that a week down the road or a month down the road, just looking back at the times we had. And then I always try and share those with other people that might not be in the BTCV family, but they've kind of said, hey, that's kind of cool. I'd like to do that one of these days, just to reinforce, hey, we're still here. We're not going anywhere. I got a couple of newbies, high school classmate 2 years ago on her first build. I got Nelson from Alaska on his first build. I'm working with another high school classmate. He might be in Rwanda with us. I don't know what his schedule is going to be, but he's really interested in going on a trip. So I got some aces in the hole. You don't lose touch with those people because they have expressed an interest. So you kind of promote it where you know the interest is, and promote it to others too, because you'll get other people's interest sparked there too, and follow up on that down the road. So
yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, man, recruiting, that's a beautiful thing. Bring more people into it. One thing I wanted to ask you about, Uncle Al, I don't know if it was an outlet for you. I do know it was the perfect combination of bringing Be the Change and community and what the impact we can do there to back home. And I will tell you that it was a great outlet and reentry thing for me, even if it wasn't for you, was your spearheading idea, creativity, and push to do the Teacher's Toolbox grants. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that spawned maybe from that, and if that was a reentry factor for you?
Yeah, that whole idea came about with Bailey and Maddie when they graduated from college, and they had to do the GoFundMe for their classroom. I thought, that's kind of ridiculous. So I did my research, visited with my sister who was a teacher, some other friends that were teachers, and decided this is something that we can help out on. So it's grown from $500 grants to teachers for projects that their school districts don't have funding for, to $1,000 grants. This year we had a matching fundraiser, and I think it's gone from, correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, but I think we're going to give 20 grand away this year.
A little more than that, actually. Yep.
Excellent. So, it's just part of the family. There was a need, and we could fix it.
Yeah. Well, I just have to thank you for that again, because honestly, I mean, not only the impact that it's made for our heroes, like Allie mentioned, just teachers are our heroes. And I mean, to think about that, but honestly, it was a great, and still is, Uncle Al, great inspiration and a reentry point for me, just because I'm like, we're doing something. And we've taken something that's so far away and in the developing world and said but it shifts our perspective here. And we can do something here, and we can make a difference here for those that deserve it and need it and are building the future literally as we speak. So, again, if it hasn't been in reentry help for you, it has for me. So thank you so much. Kylie.
I tell all of my kids' teachers about the teachers grants, because they're awesome and they're so needed. For me, I get home and I question everything, and I question the way that I'm doing everything and the way that our family does everything, which I think is really important. And I journal a lot to help get through that. And I think one major thing as a parent is looking at my kids and all the opportunities that they have, and then comparing them to the kids who we've just left, and trying to figure out how I can raise my children to be good adults who care about kids who don't live here in Columbia, Missouri. So I pulled an Uncle Al, and the minute I got home from Peru, started planning my next trip, but also I did promise you I'd cry, but also trying to plan how I can get my kids on a build and my husband on a build eventually, because I want them to have the opportunity to make a difference in other people's lives and to learn from the places that we get to visit as well. Because, we all live on the same earth together, and if we can teach our kids to do and to carry on this tradition, I think that we've hopefully done a good thing. So yeah, the other thing that I have done in planning my trip is I have started fundraising for the last 2 years. And to do that, I have made way too many Christmas cookies and different baked goods and have sold them at a market here in town. And that's been the best opportunity to tell people about Be the Change, because you have a captive audience and you have sugar in front of you, so they're clearly going to stop by. So that's been really cool and a good way to kind of evangelize about Be the Change while also raising money for the next trip. So.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to ask you about specifically, Kylie. So, like, is the time, I mean, I know you've done it with certain events, but is the timing of that important to you? Like, do you need to, like, wait a little while and then come do that? And are you,
No,
other than getting all the cookies made.
Yeah, no, that actually is horrible timing because it's right between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I make macarons, and so they only have like a 5 to 7 day shelf life, and so you have to make a bunch and then sell them all on a Saturday, and you hope it's not too snowy so people come. So no, that timing is horrible. That's just the timing that the market is. But yeah, the minute I get home, I'm already thinking about the next trip and trying to think about how I'm going to be able to pay for it and looking at our budget and figuring out what we need to do. And then the market comes along and I'm like, that feels like something I can handle. So
yeah,
that's what we do.
I mean, again, I think that's an awesome combo, right? Because I think for you, it's some way creative, right? Like, I mean, your whole booth is amazing. Like, there's way more than those cookies, but I think it's amazing. But it is a platform, right? I mean, you do, and by word and appearance and, like you said, sugar. It's a great way to kind of do that. So, Maddie, I was going to kind of ask you about that as well, too, because you've done a fair number of presentations afterwards. Is it like, does that need to come later to do those, or do you need time before you're ready to talk to the world about it?
No, I want to like be talking to the world immediately. Like for sure. I'm like, I'm ready. Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, you've done a great job of using that creativity as a fundraiser and platform as well. And I think all these ways to tell the stories are absolutely amazing for sure. So again, like I said, all extremely helpful for me. I know it will be for many others. It's going to be required viewing before you go on a trip, after you go on a trip. And I think people will love it for sure to be able to do that. And I do hope anyone listening, we will for sure, but just anyone and everyone they know who are serving in any types of mission work. It's just so important that, like, the amazing good, because there's so much good from these things, but I think it can, be lost, or worse, is to turn into negative, debilitating, or even discouraging things and trajectories when you come back home, if you don't have some outlet, if you don't have some way to deal with it. So thank you all so much for being open and transparent and real and authentic and genuine and sharing the experiences for sure. I think this is an incredible resource that will be used. And you all are definitely being the change that you want to see in the world. So if any of our listeners want more information on reentry, please feel free to reach out to us at btcv@btcv.us. If you found this Change Your Chat helpful, please feel free to share it with others. And if you want to support our mission of hand-delivered hope through the power of education, please donate at www.btcv.us. Thanks, and be the change.